of the game. During the time that he's been an agent, he's used these skills, both the accounting skills and the tax skills, and he's been very adept at ferreting out fraud cases. And the cases that I remember the most was one in Kingston in which resulted in not only the conviction of the taxpayer, but the accountant as well. Just before I left, he concluded a civil case, which started under Bill Lynn and finished under me, and we had almost a 7-figure deficiency for that. And the result of all this work, I think, is the result of being able to take the extra step. It's a point that a lot of us, we try to inculcate in the revenue agents. Look at the case and see if it needs an extra step, and Dan has always done that, and with tremendous success. He stays on a case if he thinks it's worthwhile, and he would get out of it when he saw there was nothing to it. And that is a group manager's dream. During the course that I had him under my supervision, I recommended several awards, and they were deservedly so. Now, I think, as you're leaving the IRS, Dan, I hope that you will remember us fondly and also take that extra step in retirement and enjoy all of it with a long life and a healthy life, and I wish you the best.
Thank you, Tony. Our next speaker is going to be another former group manager of Danny. It's Bill Lynn.
I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but as Richie would say, I got my threads on tonight. I actually thought I was going to have to make an award to Dan on his retirement. We were going to give him the Chuck Rainey Award for having the most hours on his tech time. but that just didn't work out. He didn't qualify. We also considered, after that one was gone, we thought maybe we might give him the lowest profile in the district award. But we couldn't do that either because Jim Long is we're going to give that to Jim when he retires, if he hasn't already done it. Of course, when those two fell through, then I said, well, why don't you give him the award that I was going to get recommended for? Mr. Congeniality. But that didn't go either. They thought they'd give that to the philanthropist in the outfit, Joe Spignardo. Well, no awards, I get dressed for nothing. You know, when you retire, you get a chance to get around, and I've probably done more shopping in the last 5 years. You just can't believe it. 50,000. But the other day, my wife and I, we were in ShopRite, walking around. And I'll be damned, we met a young lady that was a daughter of friends of ours. And we stopped and were talking to her. She just recently had twins. And she had the twins with her. And we looked at the twins, my wife and I, They're identical twin boys. Now, I want to tell you, when I say identical, I mean identical. You couldn't tell them apart. My wife, she said, the girl, she says, you know, they're so identical. How can you tell them apart? The girl said, well, she said, to tell you the truth, the only way I can tell them apart is by their balls. One ball's in the morning and the other ball's at night.
She's like,
Well, I was really asked to say a couple of words about Dan. You know, he's part of a dying species. He's really a dinosaur in his day.
Jurassic Dan.
There aren't many of them left. This one actually believed in giving you a full day's work for a day's pay. And he knew his job, and he knew tax law, and he knew how to audit, and he knew when to dig in and when to get the hell out. He knew time was money. He also knew that if he lived long enough, he would make it to retirement. Because he was part of the Kingston office. And that group went from Cliff Wright to Tony Aiello to Bill Lynn to Lou Noble to Vince Iannuzzi to Aiello again, to me again, to Smith again, or Smith and to Foschini. That's called the Kingston Caper. During 20 years, at least 20 years, Dan had to keep a notebook to tell out who his manager was. And for the same 20 years, his managers are trying to find out who the hell Sickles was. I first remembered Dan when I was made manager of the Kingston Group for the first time. To the delight of the Kingston Group, my post of duty was Poughkeepsie. So they had a grand time. I soon learned how lucky I was to be appointed manager of this fine group. I actually provided the inspiration for the identification of what today is a very common malady, PMS. This can be verified. I was the first person to have PMS. I had it when I supervised Bristol, McKnight, and Steer. I also had a little PS to my PMS in Poughkeepsie, where I had Pry and Smith. But that had nothing to do with Dan. Of course, Danny stuck out like, you know what, in this group. The other agents called him Sick. I assumed that was short for Sickles. But I knew that Sick was the only man that I knew that kept a double entry set on his OTB bets. Now, as we know, Dan is going into retirement. No longer will he have to tell the supervisor who he is. Now his wife will be his supervisor. Now he's going to join the retired set. And he's going to find, to his disillusion, when he's watching TV, that every good-looking woman on TV has either bad breath, a headache, hemorrhoids, constipation, diarrhea, PMS, or a yeast infection. That's life, Danny. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Bill. Our next speaker, which is going to have a tough job to follow that, is NTEU Chapter President Gary Barrick.
I speak, people fall asleep. Before I start, Errol forgot two retirees. One, Joe Heafy, who was famous for Heafy ties. Joe used to bring ties into the office. And although that's been about 20 years ago, the group manager, collection group manager in Poughkeepsie is still wearing them. Also, Irwin Schwartz, who's our former steward in Newburgh. Irwin was a revenue agent for years in Middletown and Monticello. On behalf of our executive board of NTEU and our 500 members of Chapter 61, I want to extend congratulations and best wishes to Dan Sickles. Dan, as you know, is a lifelong member of our chapter, and because of his membership, I believe that IRS is a better place to work today. Dan came to IRS about 30 years ago, and I think the most significant part of his work has been during the last 4 or 5 years when he's acted as the CAP, which is a program where he assisted younger revenue agents in their proficiency on the job as a revenue agent. He's transferred his skills, his expertise, and his knowledge. So if there's a legacy that Dan will leave tonight, it's going to be that this knowledge and skill transfer has been transferred to the younger agents in both the Poughkeepsie and the Newburgh groups. So we can long remember him for that. It's kind of sad to see Dan leave. He's kind of one of the last of his generation, and there's a big gap in employees in Albany District between Dan's generation and say, my generation. And every time someone leaves, it's sort of sad because really, it's not only a co-worker leaving, it's like part of the IRS leaving. And the only time we see these people together again is at a retirement like tonight. So it's a real pleasure to see really all the retirees here today. And maybe at the next retirement party, Dan will also be a part of it. So I just want to say that we're happy to be with Dan tonight. The number of people here today is a real tribute to Dan. And I want to say, may God bless you and your family, and we wish you a happy, healthy, and a very long retirement. Thank you, Dan.
Everybody, it's really great to see so many people show up for Dan's retirement, the honorable retirees. It really is terrific. You talk about a tough act to follow. I'm following Gary Barrick, a man who hasn't aged a day or gained a pound or wrinkled a shirt in about 10 years. But at least I didn't have to follow Bill Lynn. I haven't seen Bill Lynn in a while, and when I walked in the door, it'd been a long trip. It's about 3 hours looking for this. 3 hours looking for this restaurant. So I went right to the gentleman's lounge in this fine restaurant, and there was Bill, and he was standing in the lounge, and he was in these quarters, in this machine in there. And I said, Bill, what are you doing? He said, man, this really is a lounge. Look at this machine they got here. I said, what are you putting all those quarters in there? He said, well, you know, I put in 10 so far. I haven't won anything yet, except these sprays of perfume. Anyway, a lot of you probably don't know. Since I was a kid, I've always been a Yankee fan. I used to listen.
Uh-oh.
Danny's a Boston fan. I used to listen to the Yankees on the radio, and there was Phil Rizzuto. I don't know, most of you probably listened to Phil before. And I learned that if you write to Phil Rizzuto, he mentions your name on the radio. I don't know whether it's his ego or whatever, but it probably was mine. So as a kid, I started corresponding with Phil Rizzuto. And I kept it up over the years, because every once in a while, Phil would mention my name. And, you know, and even at my age now, that's a big deal to be mentioned by Phil Rizzuto on the radio. So when I knew that Danny was going to retire, I got this idea, and I wrote the Scooter. I said to him, Phil, wouldn't you like to come up here and say a few words for this Boston Red Sox fan? You know, it's been an excellent person, just like you were an excellent baseball player and an excellent announcer and all that, and we'll give you a free meal. Well, Phil will do almost anything for a fan and a free meal. So I was looking forward for his response, and Scooter wrote back. And he said, much as I would like to be there, I can't. He said, I was at one of those things with Tony Aiello once, and holy cow, was it confusing. But anyway, I'm not going to stand up here all night and try to match wits with Errol. So, and I do have a few things that I want to present to Danny tonight here. So, 3 of them to be exact.
Who's this guy, Dan?
And the first one is what we call the Albert Gallatin Award. Albert Gallatin was the first secretary? No, pardon me? Fourth Secretary of the Treasury, and he kind of developed a standard of quality for employees. And this award is given to people with a length of service who have done quality service for their entire year. So Danny was recommended and awarded this Gallatin Award, and along with that, this 30-year pin. And I'll bring it over to you, Danny, so you don't have to, because I got a couple of things. And I have a letter from our district director, Gene Pope, no relation, unfortunately. And it says, Dear Dan, I want to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation for the more than 30 years of loyal service you have given to the Internal Revenue Service. You began your IRS career in 1963 in the Examination Division as a GS-7 revenue agent. The path you carved to fulfill your goals and objectives led you through the Examination Division to the top rung of the ladder as a grade 13 revenue agent. Hard work, pride, and conviction enabled you to fulfill your aspirations for upward mobility within your organization. During your tenure with the service, you assumed the additional duties as a revenue agent coordinator and on-the-job instructor. As such, you served as a role model and worked to transfer your technical and procedural skills. In addition, you served on on the district CPA Advisory Committee, and as such, I commend you for your energy, enthusiasm, diligence in performing these extra duties. Dan, you can look with justifiable pride upon the results of your work and abilities. You have excellent reasons to be proud of your efforts to help accomplish IRS goals, objectives, and programs. It is a record that deserves sincere gratitude from all of those whom you have worked with so well during the years. We shall miss your smile and sense of humor. I know how fully you have earned this leisure time that awaits you. Enjoy it to the fullest. For your work, dedication, and commitment, I offer you this retirement certificate, emblem, and the Gallatin Award, and I hope you'll wear this emblem with great pride. This is a certificate that went along with Gene's memo, which I should have just handed to Danny, which is a certificate presented to Daniel E. Sickles upon your retirement from the government of the United States of America following over 30 years of loyal service. And now a letter from one of my best friends and one of the most important people in the world to me, my boss, Joe Russick. Dear Dan, it's with very mixed emotions that he wrote this himself, folks, that I write this letter on the occasion of your retirement after more than 30 years of federal service as a revenue agent in the Albany District Examination Division. Our organization will miss an employee of your caliber. Your intelligence, integrity, and dedication to doing the right thing at all times always made the most positive contribution in its own right and served as an example to all those around you. I cannot begin to tell you the number of individuals who approached Bill, Gene, and myself when you announced your retirement to express the admiration and respect they have for you. You have those special qualities and strengths people recognize and identify with, and that are not easy to replace. Your knowledge of the Southern Tier, in quotes, and your ability to deal effectively with all types of people, as well as your dedication to getting the job done, will also be missed. You have made a significant contribution over the course of your career with the Internal Revenue Service, and you should feel a great deal of satisfaction and pride in your accomplishments. You've given a lot to both the Internal Revenue Service and your co-workers in 30 years you were with us, and I hope you are taking as much with you. I'm sorry that I cannot attend your party tonight, but I wanted you to know that I join everyone who has ever worked with you in wishing you the best of luck and health in the years to come, and we hope that you will stay in touch with us in the years ahead. Joe Russick. This morning, I attended Errol's group meeting, and because of certain personal things that were going on in my life, there was a possibility that I wasn't going to be able to attend this retirement dinner tonight, which really would have been a loss to me, because Dan is one of the people that I definitely would have wanted to attend this retirement. Fortunately, things worked out and I was able to attend. But before I went to Errol's meeting, thinking that I might not make it, I rushed over to the desk at the hotel and I picked up the pen that skips that is always in the hotel room, and I started writing something for Errol to read should I not be able to be here, in which case Errol would have been the director and everybody down to my level. Fortunately, Danny's here. And when I was done writing it, I thought for a change I really did kind of a good job saying what I really think about Danny. So in the afternoon, when I recognized I was going to be here, I went over to the Newburgh office and Flo was really nice enough to type it up for me. So I have my own little letter from me, who was able to make it here tonight, to Dan. And so I'll read that one to you too. It says, "Dear Dan, several years ago another manager and I were speculating as to what we'd like to see in a group of agents. We decided the best way to get it all would be to clone a bunch of Danny Sickles. They would be knowledgeable, the kind of technical and skills knowledge which always focuses on the objective with confidence to challenge. Cooperative, the kind of cooperation that doesn't just agree, but has the confidence to disagree agreeably and convincingly, keeping us on the right path. Team players, while the consummate professional on their own, they would share in and foster the success of others. Solidly trustworthy. They would get the job done independently and completely. They would be a model of integrity and personal ethics. We made you a cap in the Mid-Hudson with the knowledge that we risked the consistent productivity which you contributed working independently. It worked. I can clearly see your positive influence on the knowledge, skills, and in the completed work of everyone that you've helped over the years. What a great decision. Dan, more than anyone I know, you are the agent's agent. You leave budding little Danny Sickles behind at your departure. You should be proud. God bless you in your retirement, Dan.
Thank you, Bill. That was a terrific job. You've heard a lot of the highlights of Danny's career. I apologize for anybody in the back that won't be able to see this TV, but Danny, make sure you get a good seat, okay?
Can you hear it back there? And a 7-2 lead as he faces Yastrzemski. Carl smashes a single to right field. That brings Ken Harrelson to the plate. Gibson delivers and Harrelson hits a grounded shot. It's Maxfield, a Javier to Cepeda, a double play.
Brutal.
Now, 1 out for victory. Gibson makes a supreme effort and Scott strikes out. The Cardinals win. They're the new... Cincinnati Reds are the world champions. The Reds win the World Series 4-3. It's a series where players on both teams can walk away with an enormous feeling of pride.
Guess what's coming next?
They're all Calvinists. They really believe the worst is going to happen. And there's a tendency for Red Sox fans to say, who could be the worst guy to beat us and hit the ball out? Bucky Dent is the most unlikely.
The ninth hitter in the Yankee order was an easy out. But when Dent fouled the second pitch off his foot, he momentarily threw Torres off stride.
I had great concentration. I was throwing the ball where I wanted. I was throwing hard. And just that 1 3-4 minute time that it took for him to do after he fouled in, because he was hobbling. And I just kind of got out of my, rhythm and a little bit of my concentration.
If Dent needed a reprieve, he got one. He had 2 strikes on him, but this gave him time to rethink the situation.
As
Monahan was putting the freeze on his ankle. Bucky said, if he throws me back in there again, I'm taking him deep.
With that, Dent stepped back in, bearing a new purpose and a new bat.
And I take that bat up, and I saw Bucky went up and said, I know it cracked last time. And I said, homie, you got a cracked bat.
He says, that's the one we broke in batting practice. And he says, here, you got to use this one. He says, this is the one that it's not broke. And he gave it to me, and you know, right after that, things happened.
Deep to left.
I didn't realize the ball was going to go out. I thought the ball was high up on the wall. And
I saw Yaz already, once he, you know, patted, tapped his glove, it's a fly ball. I just kept going back, kept kind of backing up a little bit. Come on, Yaz, catch it. And then I made the decision and said, this ball's going to hit the wall. And I started to back away from the wall to play the camera and try to hold no single. I could see just the flight of it just barely went over the wall, half foot probably, and I went, oh my God, I couldn't believe that the ball went out. It just almost hit the back part of the wall. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think it was going to be a home run.
Yastrzemski will not get its home run! A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now win by a score of 3-2.
That sucks.
If you want one person up there against a fastball pitcher, you want Carl Yastrzemski.
Gossage fired once for ball 1, and then fired again. The shot by Gossage, the pitch,
Popped up.
Games out to catch the Red Sox. Came back in the playoff game to capture the division title and came from behind to win the World Series.
It's remarkable that the Yankees turned around after that very emotional playoff.
A little bit high. Ball 2.
This one.
Clock's watching right. It is 2 balls and 2 strikes.
This is 4th of July. That was before the other one.
Took him out, and Dave Forgetti has a no-hitter.